The man who played Gilligan. Before he made the whole world laugh, he was delivering your mail, a real-life mailman. And that iconic theme song you're already humming, the original version was composed by John Williams, the Star Wars and Jaws guy. It was a calypso tune, and it got thrown out. Gilligan's story is coming at #1. Trust me, you want to stay for that. But first, tell me honestly, who did you sit next to on that living room floor when that theme song played? Was it your brother? Your sister? Mom or dad? Drop a comment below. I love reading your memories. We start with the man who made being filthy rich absolutely hilarious. Jim Backus, born February 25, 1913 in Cleveland, Ohio. Before the island, Backus was already Hollywood royalty. He played James Dean's father in Rebel Without a Cause in 1955. He was the unmistakable voice of the cartoon legend Mr. Magoo, and he starred in the TV comedy I Married Joan from 1952 to 55. Then in 1964, at 51, Backus became Thurston Howell III, the pompous, endlessly quotable billionaire who brought nothing to a deserted island but his money, his blazer, and his beloved Lovey. And he never let go of that role, returning for all 3 reunion films in 78, 79, and 81. Now here's the trivia that gets me every time. One of Jim's grade school teachers back in Cleveland, a woman named Margaret Hamilton. You might not recognize the name, but you absolutely know her face. She became the Wicked Witch of the West in The Wizard of Oz. And during the filming of Don't Bother to Knock in 1952, Marilyn Monroe pulled Jim into her dressing room. He walked in, curious, maybe a little nervous. And Marilyn, eyes wide like a kid, just said, "Do Mr. Magoo." And Jim did. Jim Backus left us in 1989 at the age of 76. But every time you hear that voice, the millionaire adjusting his ascot, or Mr. Magoo bumbling into another wall, Jim is right there, making you smile. You can't have the millionaire without his better half. Natalie Shafer, born November 5, 1900, in Red Bank, New Jersey. Before Lovey Howell, Natalie was a real Broadway veteran. 17 plays between 1927 and 1959, including the hits Lady in the Dark and The Doughgirls. In 1964, at 63 years old, she was offered the role of Mrs. Howell. And here's the part that makes me smile every time. She only said yes for one reason: the free trip to Hawaii. She never expected the show to get picked up. It did, and it made her a legend. But the most extraordinary secret about Natalie? She hid her real age from everyone. Her friends, her colleagues, even her own husband, actor Louis Calhern. For decades, the world believed she was born in 1912. It wasn't until after she passed that the truth came out. She was born in 1900. She'd hidden 12 years, and she loved it. She once said she wanted people to read her obituary and say, "She was how old?" Her final role came in 1990, the TV film I'm Dangerous Tonight. With Anthony Perkins, she was 89, still working, still elegant. Natalie Shafer left us in 1991 at the age of 90. She bequeathed more than $1.5 million to the Lillian Booth Actors Home, which renamed its outpatient wing in her honor. Even in her final act, she was taking care of her fellow performers, just like Lovey always did. Now, Lovey Howell had her luxury, but when things went wrong on that island, there was only one man everyone turned to: Russell Johnson, the professor. Born November 10th, 1924, in Ashley, Pennsylvania. And here's what most fans never knew. Before Russell Johnson ever built a radio out of a coconut, he was a real-life war hero. He served in the Army Air Corps during World War II. His B-25 Mitchell bomber was shot down over the Philippines during a bombing raid in March 1945. Both of his ankles were broken. He was awarded the Purple Heart. After the war, Johnson used the GI Bill to study acting and built a steady career in westerns and science fiction classics like It Came from Outer Space in 1953 and This Island Earth in 1955. Then, in 1964, at 39, he became the professor, the calm, brilliant polymath who could invent just about anything from bamboo and coconut shells. As Johnson himself once joked at a speaking engagement at MIT, the professor has all sorts of degrees, including one from this very institution. And that's why I can make a radio out of a coconut and not fix a hole in a boat. Russell Johnson left us in January 2014 at the age of 89. A real hero, on screen and off. The professor had the brains, but every island needs a big heart, and nobody had a bigger one than this man. Alan Hale Jr., the skipper, born March 8, 1921 in Los Angeles, California. Acting was in his blood. His father, Alan Hale Sr., was a famous character actor, one of Errol Flynn's most trusted sidekicks in Hollywood's golden age. And here's a wonderful detail. Father and son both played the exact same character, Porthos, the musketeer, in films made 40 years apart. Dad played him in 1939. Junior played him in 1979. Now, the story of how Hale got the role of the skipper? Producer Sherwood Schwartz had been struggling to cast the part. Even Carol O'Connor, who later became Archie Bunker, auditioned. Then one evening, Schwartz was eating at a Hollywood restaurant and heard this big, booming laugh across the room. He looked up, saw Hale, and knew instantly. That was his skipper. And unlike some of his castmates, Hale never minded being the skipper for the rest of his life. He owned a seafood restaurant called Alan Hale's Lobster Barrel on La Cienega Boulevard in Los Angeles, where he would greet guests dressed in full skipper gear. He regularly visited children in hospitals, always in costume. He and Bob Denver would show up together at charity events as Skipper and Gilligan, remaining close friends until the very end. Alan Hale Jr. left us on January 2, 1990, at just 68 years old. When he passed, the United States Coast Guard offered a funeral with full military honors. That's how much the skipper meant, not just to Hollywood, but to the country. The skipper had his little buddy, but every viewer at home, they had their Mary Ann. Dawn Wells. Born October 18, 1938 in Reno, Nevada. Before she ever set foot on that island, Dawn was crowned Miss Nevada in 1959 and competed in the Miss America 1960 pageant. She started college studying chemistry. Yes, chemistry. Then switched to theater at the University of Washington. And in 1964, at 25, She beat out over 350 actresses to land the role of Mary Ann Summers. And then came the question. The question. The one that's been asked in living rooms, college dorms, and barbershops for over 60 years. Ginger or Mary Ann? Dawn had a beautiful answer. She once said, "You can go anywhere and say Ginger or Mary Ann. You don't have to say what show it is. Everybody gets it. And I always win." Seeing her again really does bring it all back, doesn't it? Now let me ask you, how many of you secretly had a crush on Mary Ann? Or maybe it was Ginger? Don't be shy. Confess in the comments. I won't judge. After Gilligan's Island, Dawn never stopped working. Over 66 theatrical productions, a cookbook, a self-help book, even a stint as a journalist hosting an Australian news show where she interviewed Eddie Murphy, Julia Roberts, and Tom Hanks. She also ran a clothing business called Wishing Wells Collections, designing clothes for people with limited mobility. And one thing stays with me. Dawn Wells was the only cast member who attended Alan Hale Jr.'s funeral in 1990. And she was there again for Russell Johnson's memorial in 2014. She never forgot her island family. Dawn Wells left us on December 30th, 2020, at the age of 82. With her passing, only one cast member of Gilligan's Island remains with us today. And that person is coming up very soon. Dawn told us she always won the Ginger or Mary Ann debate. Well, Ginger might have something to say about that. Tina Louise, born February 11th, 1934, in New York City. And as of today, in 2026, she is 92 years old. The last castaway still with us. Before Gilligan's Island, Tina Louise was already a rising star. She won a Golden Globe for New Star of the Year for the film God's Little Acre in 1958. She studied under the legendary Lee Strasberg and became a member of the prestigious Actors Studio. She was on Broadway, starring alongside Carol Burnett in Fade Out, Fade In, when the call came for Gilligan's Island. Honest, measured. In 1964, at 30, she became Ginger Grant, the glamorous movie star, stranded in an evening gown on a deserted island. The role made her a pop culture icon, but Tina always saw herself as a serious, dramatic actress, and after the show ended, she continued to prove it, starring with Dean Martin in The Wrecking Crew in 1969, and appearing in the original Stepford Wives in 1975. She was the only cast member who chose not to return for any of the 3 reunion films. According to Tina herself and later interviews, she had been led to believe Ginger would be the central character of the show. When she arrived in Los Angeles and discovered otherwise, she stayed professional and completed all 3 seasons. But after the show ended, she moved on. And here she is, 62 years later. In March 2025, the New York Times ran a story about Tina Louise, then 91, still volunteering 1 hour every week tutoring children in reading at a public school on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. 92 years old. Still in New York. Still giving back. The last star standing from that little island. The big reveal. Tina Louise may be the last one standing, but there is one name that is the show. One face that is the island. The man at number 1. Bob Denver. Gilligan. Warm, intimate, settling in. Born Robert Osborne Denver, January 9, 1935, in New Rochelle, New York. Before Hollywood found him, Bob Denver was about as far from showbiz as you can get. He was a mailman for the United States Postal Service. He was a math and history teacher and a physical education instructor at Corpus Christi School, a small Catholic elementary school in Pacific Palisades, California. He was still teaching when he shot the pilot for his first TV series. That series was The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis, where he played Maynard G. Krebs, television's very first beatnik from 1959 to 63. He became the breakout star, and when the show ended, he had his pick of roles. He chose Gilligan. In 1964, at 29 years old, Bob Denver became the lovable, bumbling first mate of the SS Minnow. He studied his own 3-year-old son Patrick to capture that childlike wonder, the curiosity, the innocence, the way a kid can mess everything up and still make everything all right in the end. But here's the fact about Bob Denver that tells you exactly who he was as a human being. During the first season, the show's theme song referred to Russell Johnson and Dawn Wells only as "and the rest." Their names weren't mentioned. Their faces weren't in the opening credits. Bob Denver, the star of the show, the man whose name was literally in the title, went to the network and demanded that his co-stars be recognized. When the network refused, he threatened to move his own name to the very end of the credits, or leave the show entirely. The network gave in, and from season 2 on, the lyrics changed forever. The Professor and Mary Ann. Dawn Wells didn't even find out what Bob had done for her until 1995, 30 years later. After the show, Denver never ran from Gilligan. He embraced it. He showed up with Alan Hale Jr. at hospitals and charity events, always in character. He replaced Woody Allen in the lead role of the Broadway play Play It Again, Sam. He hosted a syndicated oldies radio show with his wife Dreama from their home in Princeton, West Virginia. He once said, "It was the mid-70s when I realized the show wasn't going off the air." He made peace with being everyone's little buddy, because the fans, they were always so kind to him. Bob Denver was with us until September 2, 2005. He was 70 years old. His wife Dreama and his children Patrick, Megan, Emily, and Colin were by his side. She later said, "Bob is the finest human being I have ever known." And she was right. He wasn't just Gilligan. He was the friend who looked out for everyone, on the island and off. Before we go, we want to take a quiet moment to honor the members of this beautiful cast who are no longer with us. They gave us so much joy. They deserve our remembrance. Jim Backus, our beloved Thurston Howell III. He was 51 when he first made us laugh on that island. He graced us with his presence until 1989, when he left us at 76. Natalie Shafer, the one and only Lovey. She was 63 when she joined the cast, though she'd never have admitted it. She was with us until 1991, leaving at the remarkable age of 90. Alan Hale Jr., our skipper, our captain, our big-hearted teddy bear. He was 43 when he first stepped aboard the Minnow. He left us in January 1990 at 68, far too soon. Russell Johnson, the professor, war hero, gentleman. He was 39 when he built his first coconut radio. He was with us until January 2014, leaving at 89. Dawn Wells, our Marianne, kind, loyal, and always there for her island family. She was 25 when she won that role, out of over 350 hopefuls. She stayed with us until December 2020, leaving at 82. And Bob Denver, Gilligan, everyone's little buddy. He was 29 when he first put on that red shirt and that white sailor's hat. He was with us until September 2005, leaving at 70. 6 extraordinary people. 1 unforgettable island. And 1 Tina Louise, still with us at 92, carrying their memory forward. Intimate, like talking to a friend. Time moves so incredibly fast. But these memories, they stay. They don't fade. They don't leave. Which of these stories surprised you the most today? Was it the mailman who became Gilligan? The war hero who became the professor? Or the woman who hid her age from the whole world and loved every second of it? And if you could go back, just for one evening, to sit on that old sofa next to someone you love, hear that theme song come on, and feel that warmth one more time, what would you give to do it? Share your stories in the comments below. I read every single one of them. Thank you for watching, and thank you for remembering them with me.